All right, y'all, we are back. We're going to finish up doing my solar return chart, and then we are going to get into Christine's. So, Christine, what other conjunctions do we have on my solar return this year? What else do I have to look out
What
for?
else can you expect, Shelby?
All right.
Yes, outside of the scandal. Okay. You've got a moon conjunct Mercury. And what that tells us is that there's going to be a need to integrate unconscious feelings with conscious thoughts.
Ooh,
So
okay.
you can actively seek out more information about your feelings and motivations through discussions, journaling, and meditation. And you'll be able to understand the total picture from your rational assessment combined with the intuitive insight.
Okay. We like that.
So I feel like that piece fits in again with that a lot of more of that introspection, right? Like spending that more of that time with yourself, journaling, meditating, getting into your own space. I think that all kind of lends to that. So I'm like, okay, I see that.
Okay.
Also here we have a moon conjunct with Chiron. So we know Chiron is that wounded healer. So we know that there's some healing. And when the moon and Chiron get together, we know that we're going to heal some things.
It's an emotional moment for sure.
Yes, a moment. Okay. So you're going to be coming to terms with triggers, wounds, fears, shame, insecurities, all of that stuff, right?
Okay.
All of that's in there.
Ready
so
for that?
All that time with yourself, all that stuff comes up, right? Like let me tell you. So next thing I found that was really interesting here is you have a moon opposite your vertex.
Oh.
So we probably could have called this a little earlier in the chart because vertex things, as we remember, are fated events. And usually fated events revolving other people or involving other people.
Okay.
So with a moon opposition, so anytime, the vertex is aspected, we usually look at conjunctions and oppositions to the vertex. Don't usually look at like other aspects. I have seen discussion about that. It's kind of strange, but everybody do you? But there's a moon opposition, so that's at least a strong aspect to the vertex. So your vertex is in the 6th house in this solar return year. So that's going to bring matters of health, also accidents, which just
fingers crossed that goes well. Yeah, I did actually. Yeah,
right.
I could not. I'm good with any more of those.
Right,
actually,
maybe that's the one. Hey,
we'll go with that.
Yeah. So also with Mercury in the 12th house, this is where suffering, undoing, holding secrets, faraway places, cheating again.
Stop trying to make me be scandalous this year. I swear. I know it's not. It's the astrology. It's the astrology. It's not you.
Just be aware, girl. Just like, girl, look, I got to tell you about this stuff.
Yeah.
So it was in here in the chart. So things to look out for.
I'd rather know.
So then when we have,
I said I'd rather know.
Oh yeah, sorry. So then when we have the moon contact with your vertex, we've got emotionality involved, right? Or affected, and your soul again, because it's the vertex, these fated events. So there's likely to be something in there that's gonna, stir up some of that.
Okay.
At some point in this year.
Okay.
So one of the things to look out for, which we won't do here, but we want to get deeper into it. You want to look for when Mercury crosses this vertex point in transit, which you will want to look at your progress charts.
Okay.
So another chart to look at, but progress chart really is going to give us a lot of information about when exactly that kind of event will happen. So if you're interested in that, that's where we're going to go.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about progress charts much on this podcast.
We'll have to save that for sometime soon.
Yeah, another episode. They're very interesting. I've just started getting a little bit into them myself, but yeah, very interesting if you want to get into timing. Okay, so the next aspect we're looking at is a Mercury conjunct Neptune. Again, Neptune Mercury, not always the place, the people, the planets we want to see hanging out together.
Together? Yeah, because it sounds confusing.
Confusion in your communications and thoughts. So this is going to suggest working with the less clearly defined psychological drives, such as compassion, creativity, and spirituality. Not so bad, right?
Yeah, sure.
So your sensitivity to subtle emotional connections among all people is going to increase your concern for certain individuals in particular and humanity as a whole. So here you're able to acquire information through intuitive and psychic insights.
Okay. Tapping into that intuition again. Great.
We're not mad at that.
Take
We're
that.
not mad at that.
Yeah.
And then, okay, our next aspect is Venus conjunct Mars. So we did see that we have Venus and Mars up in the 11th house together.
Yes.
So this is either going to tell us the actions are either going to support or conflict with your relationship or financial needs. And I think there's maybe Taurus, well, Venus is involved. So it's, it's either relationship or financial. So just know.
One of those things is going to happen. And it could be supportive.
You're going to help it or you're going to make it better. It works. You're going to make it better, you're going to make it worse.
Who knows?
We'll find out.
I'll keep you updated.
Yes. So those were the major aspects. For sake of time, we'll just talk about the majors. Yeah. I'll leave the other aspects there for Shelby to get into first. So.
You guys don't need to know everything about my chart. I'm going to play with the rest of this later.
Yes. So we also both had a Jupiter conjunct Uranus, but because those planets are not, personal planets, we don't get as much information about like the outer and the, Jupiter is that middle. But those planets, we don't get as much about solar return when they aspect each other, because again, that's not really our personal energy as much. But we both also have that conjunction in our chart, just so we know.
Interesting.
So might be a little, again, generational energy happening. But I also think I saw something about Jupiter and Uranus conjuncting sometime soon, like sometime this year. So that might be what we're seeing there.
Yeah.
Is that we're all seeing that come up in our charts. So
interesting.
There's that. So any takeaways, Shelby? Anything?
There's a lot of things that I'm kind of thinking about how I imagine my year would go, how I would like for my year to go. And there are certainly things on here that I'm like a little nervous about. The whole 12th house thing, the health thing is like, ooh, am I going to have some sort of a health accident or something unexpected in that way, which, you can never really prepare for, but is also good to keep an eye on. So
good to know, right?
Let me go ahead and make a primary care doctor appointment and get all my shit taken care of, just try to do this. And again, with all the introspection, I have a feeling I'll be doing a lot of self-care, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of internal work this year. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about, what I'm focusing on for right now.
Yeah. And I think that, that's where, again, that's where the focus is. And your focus is obviously on these new beginnings and these new things that are coming into your life. And so, of course, everyone always has some challenges within their solar return years. I mean, all of our years, right? All of our lives, we've all got challenges.
Be some suffering just kind of at some point.
Yeah.
And that's just part of life.
There's some suffering involved.
Yeah. That's just life.
It's just part, unfortunately, suffering is part of our lives.
Yes.
But hopefully we at least, get some growth, which you do have that North Node hanging out with all of that as well. So it's going. So at least it's going somewhere.
Okay. It might be okay. Yeah.
It's not for nothing. Which is, I guess always a silver lining. It's not for nothing.
Not for nothing.
So lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about what my year is going to look like.
Yes, let's see.
Now, okay, I will just a quick aside. I saw something that I was about to actually correct on Instagram today, and I had to go look it up. But I saw someone had posted about how the astrological new year was going to start on March 19th. And like Aries season starts on March 19th, all this stuff, things we need to start doing. And I was about to just repost it like, yep, it's the astrological new year. But I was like, actually, it starts on the 20th.
Yeah.
And I was about to correct it. But then I was like, you know what? I wonder if the spring equinox, affected it. And so I'm like, okay, the equinox is on the 19th, which is likely why they decided to say the Aries season also started on the 19th.
Right.
I'm like, well, not quite, because let us, the Pisces, finish. You know, the 19th and the 20th Pisces, we need to finish.
Let us get the full season.
Let us finish. Okay. Yeah. And then we can talk about Aries season. But yes, the spring equinox is on March 19th. So here in just a few days, we're going to be springing.
So that is so complicated because it's like your birthday is just right on that edge. And it's like, obviously, when you were born, you were a Pisces. But now it's like, technically this year,
the
Aries season. Yeah. What? Well, maybe.
So the reason, you know, we have these things happen, right? Everyone had, you know, every sign, of course, has that cusp. And sometimes that cusp happens on the same day. And so, you know, I used to get so irritated because I would see things that would say, like, I was an Aries. I'm like, no, I'm a Pisces.
I'm not.
But some people born on March 20th are Aries.
Right.
Because, you know, when I look at my chart, I was born at 8:34 in the morning. And about at 10 a.m. at my time, the sun moved into Aries. So when I'm telling you, I'm the 29th degree.
Yeah, you're like
at the end,
as
like
far
just
at the end as you could possibly be.
Right.
But I'm so glad, because what would we have called this podcast otherwise?
You know, fire and water. You know, what
we could have come up with something cute, I'm sure. But
such a flame. Like, I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, some people born on my birthday are in fact Aries. In fact, maybe many of them, or most, are Aries. Yeah. And I'm just the outlier. So maybe I need to get with the program. But, you know, I digress. Let's talk about solar return.
Yeah.
So the first thing we look at, of course, in our solar return is what the rising sign is. Like, what is the year ahead looking like? So I've got a Libra rising this year.
Ooh.
Interesting energy, right?
Yeah.
Very focused on partnerships, relationships with others, and maybe marriage.
Marriage, huh? So quickly.
Strange fruits here, you know, like marriage. At this point, like, you know, no, I mean, I'm still open, but it's like, okay,
it's gotta be really good.
Marriage
at this point.
material popping up
right now already. Okay.
Ooh. I'm like looking around, like, is there someone already in my, you know, circle of friends?
Could be.
Or is it a new person? Again, we talked about it. Now, I'm not accepting the old friends.
We're not taking that. We're not letting that happen.
Friends. No old flames.
Good to know.
No twin flames.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm calling out none of them.
We talked
Definitely
about
not him.
All those Virgos. Yeah.
They can stay in the past. I want some new energy, something new and fresh. Okay. Yes.
We'll see.
So that's what I'm claiming for myself. So, okay. Now the next thing is we've got a couple stelliums. I've got a 6th house stellium, which I've got Sun, Mercury, the North Node, Neptune, and Chiron all hanging out in the 6th house. So in the 6th house, it's where we talk about health, our organization, routines, and or work. Daily routine of work, not necessarily our career, but just that in and out daily routine of work.
Day to day.
So a lot of energy there. I can see that. I can honestly see the focus on health because my family has been really pushing me about going to see my primary care physician and having a physical. Because everyone in my family has like done theirs, and there have been several diagnoses of diabetes in which they're really pushing, you know, now for me to go and, you know my status, you know.
Sure.
And the Pisces wants to avoid, you know, because now it feels ominous to go to the doctor.
But then if you go and it's good, then you're like, great, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Feels good, right? Yeah.
That's what we're hoping. But I got this little habit that it's not great for me. And every time, I will say this again, as a health aside, every time I go to the doctor or just, for any kind of whatever, like they have to take your blood pressure, whatever, they're like, are you on blood pressure medication? And I'm like, no, should I be?
Should I be? Why
Whenever
are you asking me that
that
question? Yeah. Are you telling me
should
that
someone
because
tell me to get on it?
because I'm low and it looks like I am, or because I need to be and I'm not?
And I think it's more on the high side, And I'm like, should I be? So this is one of these things that I'm like, girl, just go to the doctor so the doctor can tell you yes or
Right. If you
no.
need to be, yeah.
Or, maybe you need to reduce your smoking, which I'm like, is there something else we can do?
Is there anything else? Anything else? Yeah.
Some natural powders, some,
I'll
whatever,
take the medication I'll try some roots and herbs, anything to allow
Listen, anything herbal, I'm into it. But I'm gonna need to continue the smoking.
Yes.
At least in a minimal way.
Yes.
So, okay, so then we have a fifth house stellium, which is more fun and interesting to talk about.
Of course. Of course.
It's the fifth house. Okay, that's where we find fun. So we have Venus, Mars, and Saturn here. And so the fifth house again is where we find dating or beginnings, like kind of that casual like startings of love, dating, all that. We find fun, we find play, we find children. Now anytime I see children stuff pop up, I'm like, well, I work at a school.
Right. So like, that's what that is. Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying it is. So there's going to be some focus here on love, flirting, fun, expression, creativity, arts, and again, children. Yeah, I'm at the school. So there'll be focus there. And I'm always trying to be artsy and creative with the kids in general, bringing stuff to them, finding new ways for them to express themselves, talk about things, all the things. So that's the fifth house. That's what we're saying. I'm looking forward to seeing, maybe there's a new boo.
Maybe. I hope so. I hope so.
Like, come through, new boo. Come through. So then we have Pluto in the fourth house. So this one, gave me a little pause. Pluto, the fourth house is where we find home and family. And so this says you may experience profound changes in your home life and family dynamics, possibly moving residences or major renovations. If you're moving like to a new home or something, you've bought a new house. Now if this was yours, right, it's like, hey,
that makes sense. Yeah,
you want to watch out for check everything. Yeah, do an extra inspection. There's probably going to be some stuff happening with that house, but it's not yours.
It's not me. Yeah,
I'm not planning on buying a house as far as I know in the next year. We don't know what could happen, but if it does happen, I'm gonna be something very cautious about
for sure
what's happening with that house.
Yes.
But more than likely, it just means I'm probably gonna have to move from this apartment.
Aw, womp womp. She's so cute.
We knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. So also I've got Jupiter in the seventh house. Now this is interesting because this does form an aspect later in this chart, but it forms the aspect, I believe, with Venus and Saturn because they're conjunct.
Interesting.
We'll talk about in a second. But Jupiter in the seventh house, it says, ask and you shall receive, right? So others naturally come to your aid, giving more assistance and support than you expected, or you even thought you needed.
That's nice.
So you might, right, like, okay, I need some support now.
Support me.
Someone may be in the perfect position to actualize your goals, and partnerships of this nature enable you to accomplish together what you would not have attempted alone. So I'm like, okay. I feel, there's some energy with a person that I'm like, I feel this kind of energy with this person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested to see how this all plays
Places
out.
you didn't expect it to go.
Like, okay. So then I've got a moon in the 10th house
Mm-hmm.
and our career, public life.
Mm-hmm.
So this suggests changes in career or professional tasks
Also
that you are asked to perform.
seems very
Similar
possible for
energy,
you.
right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But yes, very, very, yes. In fact, I have to tell you something related to that, when we're done. But changes can be beneficial, take advantage of professional opportunities and career development. So everything you do at work will be more public. So that is either positive or negative. If you're doing the right things, you'll be recognized. If you're doing not the right
Everybody's
things,
gonna know
people
about
will know
it.
about it. Yeah.
Yes.
So most changes are directly and indirectly within your control.
Okay.
Like, okay,
That's
cool.
good.
Yeah. So those are the placements. I'm gonna do a couple. I won't do all of these aspects. I'll do a few of them.
Yeah.
So we talked about the Sun conjunct Neptune with Shelby's chart,
Right.
so I'm not going to rehash that. But again, we have that same energy. So Neptune, leave me alone.
Please.
Also, here I've got Moon opposite Pluto.
Ooh.
We got to talk about that because those Pluto contacts are not always a good time.
Very transformative.
So, very transformative, but not always a good time. So this implies an emotional makeup which is complicated by unconscious psychological influences. So those influences are more likely to be propagated by another person or an external event or situation. You are less likely to be the instigator and more likely to be the responder, though not always. And you may feel the need to confront circumstances you find intolerable. Now, why that's interesting is if you just remember, the moon is Pluto is in my 4th house. And that is where those psychological influences are coming from. So Pluto is all about those unconscious psychological influences. So that affecting my moon, which is in my 10th house, those are in opposition with each other. So I'm like, that's interesting energy for your 10th and your 4th house to be at opposition with each other. I'm like, that's interesting to think how that will play out.
Yeah.
So very curious about that. Definitely wanted to mention any kind of Pluto contact. Also, I'm going to skip down to the Venus conjunct Saturn.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because, we want to talk about the love things. So this is happening in that 5th house. So Venus conjunct Saturn is either the solidification of a relationship or the inhibition of a relationship. So, that Saturn, it has that staying power. So it's either going to
make or break,
lock it in, or it's going to have that delaying effect. And it's just like, we just can't seem to put it together. Like, we like each other, but there's something in the way. There's a barrier. So both processes are going to involve the use of structure to define a relationship. And you will not take your relationships lightly. So if they are to survive, they have to be meaningful. I feel that very, that feels very like where I am right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm thinking about a couple of relationships, not like relationships, but like, friendships, I suppose, that you're having right now that could turn into other things potentially. And I'm like, yeah, this is interesting energy for that, for sure.
Right? Like it's very interesting. So I'm like, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
So healthy relationships can strengthen and show a renewed sense of commitment. And the ability to accept more responsibility with or for each other is possible. And this might lead to marriage, raising children, and or the purchase of a home together.
Yikes. Okay. I
Those are big
mean, those are very
things.
big things and things that are
Very
not
big
necessarily
things.
on the radar right now, but
Yeah.
I like where this
Right.
is
It's
headed
like
for you.
not even on the
I
radar.
like where it's headed.
Yes. Oh, this is a quick one. The last thing I saw, or there's other stuff, but this is the last one I'm going to mention. I have a North Node conjunct with Chiron.
Mm-hmm.
And so what this gives to is like this person is going to create a way of life as a healer,
Mm-hmm.
initiator, spiritual teacher. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I feel like that's very much in the vein of this, where the space that I'm moving in,
Mm-hmm.
like using those wounds, right? That's what, we do that healing work. We use the healing that we've done to then help others, right? That is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's very much, we talked about in our North Node episode that you start to really get into that activation towards the age of 40.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, this is going to be my 39th birthday next
Oh.
week. And so, I'm in that space. I'm in that frame of the
Yes.
North Node. And so I very much feel like I know my path.
Mm-hmm.
I know my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I know where I'm going. And we're just, starting to move into that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, it feels good. It's like, it feels very positive. Like I've been feeling this, like, I can't always describe the energy, but it's just like, I know things are moving in the right direction. It feels like I'm starting to be in alignment,
Yeah.
even though, everything's not where I want it to be right now.
Sure.
And there's some other situations
We're still
that
working
aren't,
on it, but
yeah.
yeah.
But I'm like, I feel very much in tune and aligned with like where I'm supposed to be and where I'm going. And I'm like, I'm getting towards that 40 marker.
Yeah.
It's like it's all falling into place.
Yep. That feels good though,
So,
right? Surely, if like
yeah.
you're headed on a path that feels authentic to you, and like you said, knowing your purpose is kind of a big deal. I feel like there's plenty of people that get way past the 40 mark and are like still confused about what their life's purpose is, and I think that's a hard place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, look, I'm grateful, always grateful. And there's always parts that you're like, well, I don't know where this specific place is going.
What is this
it's like,
part?
but you know that overall path.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like that healing, that spiritual teaching, like all of that has become so much more clear as I've gotten closer to this age. That I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
And all this other stuff is like giving me skills, giving me knowledge and information that I needed to go on this path.
Yeah.
Even like art and creativity, like all of this stuff kind of comes together. And so it's cool to see it happen.
Yeah.
So I'm like, look at me, like
you're doing it
in my little space.
I'm so proud of my friend.
We're doing life.
We're doing
it. So that's just a little bit about where our years are headed. A little bit about our synastry, what our relationship looks like.
Keep listening to this podcast to see if it all comes true,
Yes.
See how it all manifests for us.
See how it all manifests. Hello. So y'all, we're going to get out of here. It is that time.
It's that time.
We've given you a nice long STS this time too. We're not usually,
I hope you made it this far.
This in depth. Yeah. So we, you love it. You love it.
You like it. You love it.
We're gonna go ahead. Yes. Let you know where you can reach us. Because we know you're gonna want to come at us with your questions, your comments. Let us know your thoughts on these topics we've talked about today. If you want your own reading, you want to see, are you a Pisces? You got a solar return coming up. You want to talk about where your year is headed.
We'd love to interpret your chart on air.
To talk about it. Yes. So how you make those things happen is you email us at suchapiscespod@gmail.com, and that is spelled od@gmail.com.
And as always, you can find us at Such a Pisces Pod on Instagram, on Facebook, on X, on Threads, on TikTok, all the places where there is social media. We are at Such a Pisces Pod. And if you haven't already,
and YouTube.
Oh my God, YouTube. How could I forget YouTube? We have a YouTube channel now. Please subscribe. Okay. And look at our faces. You can finally see what we look like. Maybe you've been listening to the podcast for a while and you've just like imagined what we look like. And now it's always a fun game to put a name to a face, And so
and now you can see us and you can see all those facial expressions that we like to make.
We can finally complete the circle of the parasocial relationship so you know what we look like. So go check all those things out. Give us a subscribe. Watch our videos. Give us comments. Tell us what you're thinking. Maybe leave us a little review here and there, if they're positive, especially. Yes. And we'll see y'all next week.
All right, y'all. Stay safe in these streets and protect your energy.
Seduce and scheme safely. Bye.
Bye. Peace, y'all.